Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook. Make sure you download the app and then use the promo code CHGO when you sign up. Luke Stuckmeyer, Ryan Herrera, and Cody Delmendo on Cyber Monday. Deals to be had, but so far your Chicago Cubs are pulling the trigger on none of those. Deals are being made. You know, we'll get to the holiday recap. Guys, I wanted to talk turkey right off the top, of course.
Of course you did.
But then news happens. That's what goes down. And Jose Abreu, 3-year deal to the Astros. So for all the people that were hoping for Abreu to be the Cubs solution at first base, platooning with Mash Mervis, forget the dream. 3 years to the Astros. Is it too much? Are you glad that the Cubs passed on that deal, Cody?
First reaction before hearing the length of the contract, I was like, oh, dang, this sucks. Like it seemed like a big target. But then seeing 3 years, I was kind of like, all right, makes a little bit more sense now. And whether the difference between 2 and 3 years is nothing to you, if you're watching or listening to this podcast, fine. I ain't going to sit here and try to convince you. But if we're all high on Matt Mervis, and Jose Abreu is 36 years old, going to be 36 years old next year, then to me, it's kind of like, all right, I guess if you would have just paid up and then pulled a similar thing with Jason Hayward on that last year. I mean, I don't know. Like I'm frustrated, but not because they didn't get Abreu. I'm frustrated because the Cubs haven't done anything yet. So if the Cubs do something, I can easily get past this. And honestly, I was someone who wanted Josh Bell more so than Jose Abreu because he's younger and he's a switch hitter. Obviously, I think Jose Abreu is probably better than him, but Josh Bell isn't bad either. And again, if we're all high on Matt Mervis, like we all say we are, then like to me, I'll go full colada if they don't get one of the 4 shortstops. I will go full colada if they don't get one of the 4 shortstops. Not getting one of these top first base guys will suck if they miss on Josh Bell too and Trey Mancini now. Then I will be frustrated and I will be wondering, what are we doing? But I think in the long run, as you know, again, this offseason is still early. It really is still early. It's hasn't even been a month since the World Series ended, right? And the winter meetings haven't began yet. Like, to me, I'm willing to wait it out some more, man. I'm not willing to wait it out some more. Believe me, though, I'm impatient. I'm just like everyone in the chat right now that's either whatever or pissed off. But I'm not going to go full like fire Jed just because they didn't get who's going to be 36-year-old Jose Abreu. Sorry.
Yeah, we have Jed is asleep in the chat. We have Ricketts still digesting his turkey, doesn't have time to spend money from Colada. Ryan, I feel like there are other options out there. My question is now, though, does this push a domino at first base to where the Cubs have to make that move for Bell or have to make the move for Bellinger before they are left empty-handed?
Well, I was going to say Bellinger may be a different story because he plays center field. But as far as I know Cody mentioned, Josh Bell, Trey Mancini. And when I think about it, I don't think the Cubs have to go get either of those guys. Josh Bell.
Big brain.
I love Bellinger for the flexibility of either position. That's why I say if Mervis is good, you can just leave him in center.
That's why I say Bellinger's a different story because he has the ability to play center field very well defensively, but can also move into first base. But with Bell and Mancini, I mean, Mancini has, barely hasn't even been a full WAR player, wins above replacement, FWAR, all that. The last 2 seasons, someone pointed out he wasn't very good with the Astros after he got traded there this season. They still won the World Series anyway, but it wasn't like I think Trey Mancini he wasn't a huge part of that. Props to him for coming back from a ton of adversity like he has, but I don't think he's like a huge must get now that Jose Abreu is off the board. And Josh Bell's he's 30, so he's gonna want a multi-year contract, probably for like a 4-year contract at least, I would assume, for a guy that's 30 years old. So if you're giving him that, then what are you doing with Matt Mervis? And then that does more to block Matt Mervis if he's going to be the first baseman of the future than anything. So when I look at it, I'm like, I don't know that they need to get either of those guys. I think if they really do want a first baseman, those are probably two of the top targets. But I did like the idea. I like the fit of Jose Abreu at first base just because of he was going to have a shorter term deal. 3 years is still kind of striking to me, but I guess we'll just have to see how that contract plays out. But no, Abreu fit better than the other two, and so I think if we were looking at it first base, like that should have been the number one first base option for the Cubs. But now, I mean, you look at it, and those two guys, maybe the fit isn't as great. I mean, you have Patrick Wisdom who can play first base. If you go out and get Cody Bellinger, he can also play first base. So when I think about it, it may not be the most. It definitely wouldn't be as high on my priority list of moves the Cubs need to make this offseason than, say, getting a shortstop or getting a center fielder or getting a couple starters, filling out the honestly, that's probably like fourth or fifth on my like list of priorities as far as positions go. So I don't, it kind of, as like seeing the fit that Jose Abreu had with the Cubs, it's a little disappointing because he probably would have been good for that Cubs team in more ways than just his on the field play. But it's also not an off-season ruiner by any means, in my opinion.
I think
agree 100% though that it shouldn't have been their priority. That didn't need to be their first move for sure.
Now, I've clearly said that signing a guy like Abreu or a type of signing like Abreu would have been great to kick off the offseason so that we had an idea of what the Cubs are going to do. So I feel like that's why majority of people are probably upset or mad. Or maybe like Colada says, maybe Ricketts is still eating his turkey or digesting his turkey. Either thing could be true, right? But
they both could be true.
Yeah, right. But also, and we don't know, but at least yet, to me, Abreu, like, again, going to be 36, hasn't won a World Series. The White Sox completely wasted the prime of his career, and he chose to go to the Astros, who just won the World Series. Like, maybe the Cubs were there, but he just chose to go to the Astros. Like, and also like he's probably gonna, I don't know if he's gonna have a statue, but he might have that number retired or something like that from the White Sox some year. I don't think he probably wanted to go to the Cubs and I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I think those are actual, possibilities. And so again, missing out on Abreu the world isn't ending. The sky is not falling, right? Like
it shouldn't be. It shouldn't feel like that.
No.
Right. But some people are already reacting like it. And I think it's just PTSD from the fact that the Cubs haven't spent enough money the last year. Like, they've spent money, but they haven't spent enough, and they haven't spent enough on impact players. And clearly the Cubs need impact players. So, like, and on one hand, I get it. I totally get it. But on the other hand, like, it is still early, and we haven't even got to the winter meetings yet. Now, if Correa and Turner and Bogarts and Swanson are all gone by tomorrow, then I will come on here and I will yell and scream and go full Colada for all the chat to hear. All right.
Brian G in the chat says, I'm hella disappointed. I have two questions. One is, did all the Bruce Levine reports actually raise the price to 3 seasons for the Abreu deal? Because Bruce was hammering Cubs. Everybody was talking about Abreu and the Cubs because Bruce was so confident that they were having these heavy conversations, which they might have been. So that's question number 2, is what Cody was hinting at. We'll never know. We won't know the answer to this unless Jed tells us at the winter meetings, which, by the way, Ryan will be heading to beautiful San Diego to be there. So we'll have a little inside information going on.
Ooh, we're going to be breaking news.
Yeah, Ryan's going to be there breaking news. We'll have the inside scoop. And the question is, were the Cubs in on this? And he just chose the Astros because, you know what? Let's be honest. If the Cubs made 3 major moves this offseason, if they signed Correa, if they signed Senga, if they signed Bellinger to play first base, the Astros would still be more of a favorite to win the World Series and be way more likely to win the World Series next season. So is it possible that he just decided to chase the World Series, or were the Cubs just not in on this at all? Like, maybe Bruce is right. Maybe those conversations were going on very early, but were they never even a factor in really pursuing Abreu? I think it's interesting. I do realize that if they were in on it, no matter what the pricing was, I wouldn't. Abreu's not the guy to say, "Okay, well, the Astros are in on it. We got to get our guy because we got to make a move, and we're going to give him 4 years." Well, that would be crazy, or 15 million than anybody else would offer. That would be crazy too. So if that's the case, then I'm glad they weren't in on it, because I think 3 for the Cubs is probably too many years. 2 would have been the ideal amount of years for the Cubs and Jose Abreu if that was the way that was going down. And then, listen, we talked about Abreu early on in the offseason, and we talked about, well, he wouldn't have to move. He can stay in Chicago. Let's be honest. Like, even if he loved Chicago, moving isn't the same for Ryan or Cody or me as it is for Jose Abreu. Like, he has people doing all of that. Like, he's not taking boxes and buying the stupid tape at Walmart and boxing up everything and then unpacking everything. It's one of the biggest pain in the asses in the world is moving. But not if you're a professional baseball player, not if you're a free agent going to the Astros. He's going to have a whole team of people move in, swoop in, take the stuff over, and you know what? He'll go home, he'll take some vacation, and the next thing you know, he'll be living in Houston. So
honestly, like, if he would have taken if he would have chose a team that was like, I guess, rebuilding or looking to take that next step after rebuild, like, I really think the Marlins would have been the team he would have chose, just because it's, like, it's closer to where he is originally from, like down there. Like, to me, I never got up for Jose Abreu. Like, I like the idea of it.
Yeah.
I like the, the platoon with Mervis. It could have been, but I never got up for it. And it's not just because of who was reporting it. It was just because it just didn't really fully make complete sense. But that first part kind of had something to do with it.
And let's be honest, there were a fraction of Cubs fans certainly out there that were excited because he was a Cubs killer every time they played those 4 or 5 games, 6 games every year. And number 2, you would like to have the White Sox stare at him in a Cubs uniform, and every time you hit a home run, he would have been able to yell, "Thanks, Sox." That would have been fairly satisfying every once in a while, but that dream is gone.
Yeah, that's all right.
Well, I agree with Cody. Like, you liked the idea of getting Jose Abreu because he, again, like I said earlier, he fit in. Like, the fit was there. The fit was right. But you also think about, like, he's going to Houston, who just won a World Series. He's getting a 3-year deal, apparently, reportedly. And, he's got a spot for right away playing time, and there's no one really there to try to, challenge him for it at this point. So it just makes a lot of sense for him to pick Houston. Outside of, not even talking about off the field things like no state income tax in Texas, all that kind of stuff. It's like the fit on the Astros was great. He would have fit here in Chicago on the Cubs. He would have fitting well, I believe. But I mean, again, I'm not. It's a little disappointing, but it's nothing to get like the reaction. The reaction shouldn't be as outrageous as I've seen it so far. I think the Cubs can survive and still have a good offseason, even though Jose Abreu is not going to be one of those signings.
I also think the reaction is this way mostly, maybe I'm wrong. I believe the reaction is this way today because mostly the Cubs have done nothing so far. Like the fact that we're at this point and we're past Thanksgiving and we're moving past Cyber Monday here and we're still waiting for anything to happen. And we thought the Cubs would finally back up the wheelbarrow of cash and just start throwing it around to people out in the street. That hasn't happened. So the Sox made the move over the weekend for Mike Clevinger, 1-year deal, $12 million for a starting pitcher. Do you feel like the Cubs missed out on that deal? And then the flip side of that is, or the additional part of that is, will that start to push the starting pitcher moves that happen leading up to the winter meetings? I don't think the Cubs missed out on Clevinger, although 1 year, $12 million, it's an affordable deal for a guy that has been very good before and just wasn't last season. Is coming off an injury, but it was a name that interested me, but I don't feel like, just like Abreu, I don't feel like it's they missed out. It's just more like, when are they going to do something?
Yeah. I guarantee if the Cubs had signed Mike Clevinger, this chat would be screaming, Ricketts cheap, Ricketts cheap. Sell the team.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Even
Yes.
though he has been good, but he's coming off injury and he wasn't great last year. It would have been classic, prove it deal, blah, blah, blah. And I know all of Cubs Twitter and just all of the Cubs fan base in general is just so tired of these high flyer moves. They're very tired of them, even though like a lot of them have worked out for the Cubs, but also some of them haven't. So like, but I'm personally glad that they didn't, just because like, to me, if that would have been the first move, that would have been telling of what's to come, in my opinion. Right?
Can't you get Smiley for less than that?
I think so.
Can't you get? Can't you get
there's
Smiley?
There's a much higher ceiling. There's a much higher ceiling
risky
for Clevinger.
There is, but Smiley is way less risky, and you've been there, you know that. Clevinger is a bit of a dope, it seems like, off the field. He's done some things that leave you questioning if he's all there with the Bulls. And so, and I know that re-signing Smiley or Miley would set off the alarms for the cheap narrative. But I do think that a cheaper version in Smiley, or maybe Miley, but Miley only for the short games for me. Smiley would be a better way of spending your money, especially if you're going to go big at other positions. If they get Correa or Turner at the baseball winter meetings, again, I'm fine with Smiley being the choice over Clevinger if that's a comparison that needed to be made in the offseason. I personally would rather have Smiley than Clevinger at $12 million.
When you look at it, it's I don't even know what you're you're implying with his off the field stuff. I'm clueless on whatever Mike Clevinger's done off the field.
Wasn't Clevinger in with Zach Plezak in the going out and like? I believe they had multiple issues with him, like boozing and hitting Towns, and I don't think I'm reporting anything new.
He has some stuff with like an ex that hit social media. I guess a lot of it is just immaturity.
I'm not saying he's a horrible human being. I think he's made some bad decisions.
Yeah, like it's more of just like he's immature, I think. But again, he's 30, 31 now. Like,
right.
He has kids. Like he has
maybe the injury and the rehab and things. Certainly. If he's got talent, you look past it.
Yeah, right. But so when I look at it, and so like I didn't even know any of that, and I was just completely coming from like a straight on the field perspective. I think he's Smiley's like 34, I want to say, maybe 35, something like that.
Yeah,
he was a few years younger. But like Clevinger was fine the last couple of years. Like he wasn't, or 2022 and 2020 were the last two he pitched. Last year he had 0.4 F4, 4.33. Like he was fine. He wasn't great. Someone said it in the chat, I don't remember who it was, but that he probably doesn't move a needle for the Cubs as far as like they have a lot of middle of the rotation guys, and he just adds another one there.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you, Luke, that Drew Smiley pitched really well last year for large chunks of time. He had that, they had to take that month off, whatever it was, 5 weeks, 6 weeks for the oblique. But he pitched pretty well. And he likes being on the Cubs. He liked pitching at Wrigley. So as far as like, if you're going to bring one of those two guys in, why not bring back the guy who pitched well, and who likes being there, who pitched well, and already knows the organization for a little bit, at least for a year, for a season, spend time with the Cubs. So between those two guys, I would probably have chosen Drew Smiley myself, just because he already has proven he fits in with this organization and what they're trying to build. And for a guy that's another just middle of the rotation ish kind of guy, taking that risk that he may not fit in with the culture, I'd rather just go with the guy who established himself here, even though it's only for a year. Still take him.
I'll say this: like he does have high upside because he has shown to be really good before Tommy John. So like if he can get back to that, then this signing for the White Sox turns from a middle to back end rotation to perhaps number 2 behind Dylan Cease, potentially. Like, Johnny Cueto was way better than they expected last year.
Right.
How are they basically going to replace Johnny Cueto?
Are they going to for $12 million? I'm not saying it's a bad signing for the Sox, but is he actually going to pitch better than what Johnny Cueto did last season?
Like, I think he could.
If you're a Sox fan, this is not, in my opinion, would not be moving the needle. You're just replacing a guy who was actually really good for you last year. Now, I don't know where what Cueto will end up doing this season, but I don't think he's an upgrade necessarily over. It would be difficult for him to pitch well enough this year to be an upgrade over what Cueto gave him last year. That's my personal opinion. What about the Morosi report?
I just wanted to say, and some people in the chat have said this, but Heyman just tweeted that Abreu's getting 3 years and 20 million AAV per season. So 3 years, 60 million.
60 million?
Yeah. And I honestly didn't think that was the kind of deal he was going to get. So I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, it's my guy Chandler Rome down at the Houston Chronicle said, hearing the Astros deal with Jose Abreu is expected to be around $60 million.
Wow.
There's that.
Wow. So then that makes you wonder, what does that set the market for those first basemen? We'll see. We'll see where that goes. I guess I wouldn't have spent, if the Cubs were even in the conversation, I wouldn't have spent 3 years, $60 million on Abreu. So if that was the deal and the Cubs were in the conversation with the Astros, or for that matter, the Cubs probably would have had to pay more than that because of the factor of he wants to win a ring. So what if the Astros were saying to the Cubs, or the Abreu camp were saying to the Cubs, all right, we'll come 3 years, $75 million. No way, I'm out. I would be out if that were the case. So to seeing those numbers, I'm definitely glad the way it's worked out, I guess. I'm a little surprised it worked out this way, but glad. What about the Morosi saying Michael Conforto is hitting and throwing and he's available in the outfield? We've talked about him before. Sure. Like, is it a name that you'd be okay with in the outfield? I just think he's not going to play center, right?
As far as I know. Yeah.
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think he's playing center field. So then what are you doing with, like, we're going to talk about Ian Happ in the second segment. Like, if you believe in what I've said before about adding good players, but he'd be adding a player who's coming off of shoulder surgery with a lot of question marks. So again, I'd rather have Bellinger, the high upside, a guy who can play center field and first base. To me, that's, if it's not Bellinger is the guy that I'd be pursuing after that free agent shortstop. So, Ryan, when you go to San Diego, are you taking your Shady Rays?
I will take my Shady Rays. I actually have to go. I have to go. Go
this
grab
entire
them from the
chat
office.
needs to get some Shady Rays so they can hide their pain.
Shady Rays. That's
hide our disgrace and shame.
Yeah. I always hear. Never been to San Diego. Always hear that like the weather's always great. It's always sunny there. Like it's always fine. So yeah, if it's sunny and nice out, I'm gonna need my Shady Rays. Like that's a given. Why?
Yeah.
Because Shady Rays are just like the best shades out there right now. They never understood why sunglasses were so expensive, so they set out to change it. You don't have to break the bank for quality sunglasses this fall because our friends at Shady Rays have you covered. Shady Rays are premium polarized shades featuring world-class optical clarity, substantial durability, and styles catered to everyone and every lifestyle. The best part about Shady Rays, they have the most insane protection program in all of eyewear, the lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your shades on day one, they told us that they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. You drop them in a lake, you drop them off a cliff, anything, they'll replace them. Even with that strong of a protection program, they still manage to make quality that I can tell you, holding it in my hand seems just as good as any expensive pair that I have ever worn. Shady Rays customers seem to agree with over 200,000 five-star reviews. Shady Rays also provides 10 meals to fight hunger in America with every order placed and have donated over 20 million meals to date. They stand behind their product and told our team that if anyone has a problem, they throw profit out the window and do what it takes to get it right. You get free returns and exchanges. You either love the shades or Shady Rays will pay to ship them back. That's it. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is running their deepest deal of the season. Use code CHGO for 50% off 2 or more pairs at shadyrays.com. Buy one, get one free. You can get 2 pairs for as low as $54. Redeem that code CHGO only at shadyrays.com, where you can find all their newest and best shades.
We interrupt these quick ad reads to mention that Lil Yumper has a $5 super chat saying, just checking in to see if Cody's ready to be heard again by the Cubs front office. Then the answer is yes. Our next, for sure you are. Our next partner has a product I use literally every day. I started taking AG1 because I didn't have time, wanted better gut health, more energy, and optimized immune system. Now I've been on it since April, and I love it. It doesn't taste super healthy, Instead, it's kind of a mild tropical taste, and it is healthy. So here's what it is. 1 scoop of AG1, you absorb 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to start your day right. It's a special blend of ingredients supporting your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, aging, all of those things. I get that boost of energy, so I take it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, and it's lifestyle friendly too. Whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, you're all good with AG1, and you're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance for less than $3 a day. Recommended by professional athletes, more than 7,000 five-star reviews. So right now, reclaim your health, arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. Just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. You don't need a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/CHGO Cubs. Again, athleticgreens.com/CHGO Cubs. Take ownership over your health. Pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. By the way, I do want to mention some other stuff we have going on. I do want to answer. Galvin says, doesn't Bellinger have the same question marks as Conforto? Yes, but he also has a ceiling of an MVP level, and he can also play first base. And he's won.
And he has played. He has played.
The ceiling is so much higher for Bellinger, it's not even funny.
Well, he plays center field. He plays center field. Michael Conforto hasn't played center field since 2019. And I mean, his total career outs above average at center field are -1. So defensively, wouldn't be a great center fielder, but he's probably wouldn't be a guy that the Cubs would be planning on throwing in center field anyway. The fit with Bellinger, I think, works better. If Conforto may.
Tom's comment kind of makes some sense. He says Conforto is all about a possible Happ trade. Center field and Bellinger is a completely different situation. And you're not moving the needle. Again, you're not moving the needle if you trade Ian Happ to sign a guy who hasn't played for a year and you're taking a flyer on Cody Bellinger. As much as I'd love to have him, you can't bank on him getting back to an MVP level, and you can't bank on Conforto being anything either because he hasn't played for a year. I mean, we are if we're going to sit here and go through all this crap, give me some shit that's going to move the needle. That's what I care about. That's why I'm not that upset about Abreu not coming here, because I don't think it moves the needle either way. Abreu was a stopgap and a veteran presence to help Matt Mervis. There's other guys out there who can do that, but he was probably the best first baseman out there. So, yeah, it sucks that we didn't get him, but it's the same thing with the center field situation. It really is. It really is. So, Conforto to me doesn't make any sense unless you do trade Ian Happ, and I don't get that. You're not making your team better doing that.
He's the most stable of the three. He's the most stable guy of the three, and he just won a Gold Glove, and he's a switch hitter. You're just trying to have some stability in the outfield. He's the stability, and he's turned into one of your team leaders. And I believe Jed Wyllys is going to join us at some point here in this next segment, talking about an conversation he had with Ian Happ very recently. But I do want to remind everybody that we have another tail coming up, Bear Packer, this Sunday, and you can go to allchgo.com, get those tickets right now. Again, big discounts for our diehard level fans out there. So they get 20% off everything. They're getting 20% off this tailgate, which includes all food, all drinks, and the ticket. You can also add on parking if you want while you're there. Time there, 8:30 to 12. We'll have great food. We'll have good times. We'll play bags. Cody may dance a little bit if he shows up.
That video is still pretty. I'm waiting to use that video to meme myself.
When they sign somebody.
Yeah. When they sign there you go. When the Cubs sign Correa, I'm going to tweet that video and be like,
what was the song? Were you dancing to again?
Cupid's Shuffle.
Cupid Shuffle. There you go. Yeah. that's a good one. Hey.
I also heard we're having our first takeover. I see Jared is here. Jared, hello. Are you going to the Bulls take? There's a Bulls takeover coming, and diehards should go to the events section of allchgo.com to find out about that. And all our Cyber Monday deals are still going on today. It's up to 50% off all of our merch, most of our merch. what else is on it? Another 20% off for diehards that are out there, so they can get up to 70% off some stuff, and a lot of cool stuff. I bought some swag over the weekend. I got some of our dope merch is coming to my house for the holiday season.
Ooh.
Oh, look, I mean, this is still my favorite one, t-shirt wise, is still the Skyscape CHGO one that I'm wearing today.
Yeah.
But I also like the black CHGO one that is just the grayed out Chicago flag.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of the hoodies are pretty sweet that are in too.
Yeah,
And I know
I like the black camo. The black
we got
camo
beanies too.
hoodie.
Yeah.
Oh, you got the camel one coming?
Yeah.
Me too.
I bought my entire family's Christmas on Friday.
Nice.
I think that's going to be the thing now from the rest of my life, or for I expect to be here for however long. But like, I'm just going to buy all my family CHGO gear because I suck at getting presents. This is so easy now. This is significant. This significantly makes my life easier. It's just getting merch to give to my family. That way they wear it and tell all their friends. And then I don't look like an asshole when I don't get them something for Christmas. So there you go.
No, that was my plan as well.
Jared talked to Ian Happ about his relationship with Connect Roasters, and it's something you can read right now at allchgo.com. Again, part of our rebranding and turning members into diehards and upgrading that process was also unlocking a lot of this stuff and moving it from behind the paywall that Ryan writes, that Jared writes. And this is one of them. You can go there right now and read about his relationship with this coffee company. Jared, I think it's fascinating when I was reading it that this was kind of a relationship that started over Twitter. Is that right? They met on Twitter?
Yeah, it was a tweet. That's where it all starts. And I didn't know that. I think like most of us kind of became sort of aware that Ian Happ had this thing with, Connect Coffee, and heard about the quarantine blend that they did back a couple years ago, but had never known like how it started. And as it turns out, one of the guys, Greg at Connect, he has this account called Coffee and Cards, and it's just cool pictures of coffee bags and old baseball cards. And he, on March 30th, 2020, he tweeted out a picture. It's like I forget which one of the 1908 Cubs. It's one of those guys.
Tinkers and Evers, right? I think that card was
yeah.
like what's your best double play combo or something.
That's right. He tweets this out, and then I looked at it, and he had tagged Ian in it. And he told me, he's like, yeah, I just, I tagged a few people to hope, try to get a few people to notice it. And then Ian saw it and liked it. And Ian told me that he was like, I kind of liked the vibe, the way the bag looked. And he was a coffee guy already, even before this. And he was like, so I reached out to them, and it just so happened it was during like early COVID when everybody's just kind of holed up in their houses. And Ian was like, I want to see if these guys will send me some coffee. And so they did. They mailed him some bags and a nice handwritten note. And Happ was like, well, I got to go out and get a whole pour over kit. He went to his Target in Arizona and bought one of those, and, was doing it up right at home. Loved the coffee. But then he said the more he kind of read about what the company was all about, he reached out to them and said, hey, we should do something together. And it only took, I think it was within a month, they were doing the quarantine coffee.
Wow. You hear what I don't know if Cody caught what I was hearing there. He liked the vibe was the first thing I heard. And the second thing was he wanted free swag from him. So if we want to get him with CHGO, what do? We put out a nice vibe, and then we send him some free merch.
That's right.
That's how it gets done. That's how business gets done.
Yeah, that's how you reel him in. I can't wait to get Ian in the office, and we'll talk to him about all this stuff. It's very interesting how it's all played out, because it's like this whole thing started during the pandemic, right?
Yeah, it did. So it was, right in the very early stages, and it kind of worked out for both of them because, Ian was looking for a way to, to give back a little bit, help out people who were struggling those first few months. And then at the same time, Connect was in a tough spot because They just moved into their own roasting facility, and they told me, they're like, we had 6,000 pounds of unroasted coffee beans sitting in our warehouse, and then Pritzker shuts everything down. And Caleb, the founder, was like, I had a moment of what am I going to do? And, and it worked out that, the timing was all good for them. And it helps too, like, Ian is legitimately a coffee guy. He knows his stuff. He knows what he's doing. He made if you read the article, you'll see some pictures of him with the Chemex, and he legit, like, he did that whole thing himself. And then I got to drink the coffee that he made with that Chemex, and I can vouch for it. It's good stuff. He knows what he's doing. So this isn't just like, an athlete putting his face on something. Like, he's into it. And when you get into, like, you talk to him about the marketing, going to meetings and things like that, like, he is very involved. You'll see in the story, they met with Jewel this spring over Zoom, and because of the meeting time, Ian finished a spring training game and went right back to the locker room, still in full uniform, gets on the Zoom call so they can talk to Jewel about trying to get their stuff on the shelves. So he's very involved.
He talked to the Jewels.
That's right.
Did you get any sense of how he feels about this offseason, the extension, all of that stuff? I mean, we were just talking about Conforto and different player and Bellinger and different guys that would fit in pieces in the outfield. But I just believe that their best path in left field for me is, I trust what I saw from Ian Happ. And I trust the Gold Glove, that he's worked on that. I trust that things evened out offensively a little bit on both sides of the plate. I still think he's the answer if you give him the extension in left. Did you get any sense of how he feels about that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't get into that with him a whole lot, primarily because, I was there to work on the Connect story. And I know and Ryan knows this too, from being in the locker room, it was a question that he got asked a lot. I alluded to it at one point, and I just said, hey, Ian, one of the realities of your job is it's possible you're playing somewhere else in the near future. But then I sort of framed the question based on, like, how does this impact, your relationship with this coffee company? That was just intentional on my part. I went into it thinking I'm not going to bug him about some of that stuff. But that said, I heard, what you guys were talking about before I got on, and I completely agree. Like, you've got the established guy in left field who has had I would call his breakout season in 2022. He was an all-star, Gold Glove, is really emerging as not only a team leader, but a leader within the league. You may have seen the news today. He's in the Players Association,
an executive subcommittee, something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
So, he's emerging in this way. And I think it has also established himself as the steady offensive presence that you've always sort of wanted from him. Because one of the issues with Ian Happ in the past was, like, he'd get real hot for a while, but then he'd cool off. And it was always kind of like, is this guy ever going to be able to sustain it across a whole season? And we saw that this year. So, I don't know what the Cubs are going to do, but I think it would be foolish to trade him away if you're just going to end up replacing him with somebody like Conforto or Bellinger. I'm very much with Cody on that. Like, I love that, let's move the needle. That's not moving the needle. That's not the move that you make, because you're wasting your time.
Yeah, if you're replacing him with Aaron Judge, that's a different story.
Yeah. Right. Do that.
I think Ian Happ would agree with that, probably. Like, if you can add Aaron Judge, that's all right.
Yeah, he would understand. He'd say, yeah, I get that move. But if unless you're doing something like that, focus your energy elsewhere. Get one of those top-tier shortstops. Get some starting pitching, and keep Ian Happ in left field. You've established him there. I don't see any benefit to moving him unless you're replacing him with Aaron Judge.
Yeah, I think we all agree.
Go ahead.
I feel like another one of those spots was like, that shouldn't be the priority this offseason. Like, there are plenty of other things that Cubs need to do and need to worry about. Then, I mean, I know when we talked to Jed, the end of season press conference, he was asked about in-house extensions, and one of them one of the players specifically he was asked about was Happ, and he didn't. I guess he didn't like say that they didn't want to extend Happ. He definitely didn't shy away from that. So if that's something they want to get done this offseason, like sure, that's a priority too. Getting that done. I know he talked about at the GM meetings that Jed talked about at the GM meetings that he doesn't like to really negotiate when spring training starts. He'd rather have that stuff, get that stuff done beforehand. So that is obviously another thing on his plate. If that's what the Cubs choose to do, that's the direction they choose to go. But as far as do they need to sign Michael Conforto or, what are they going to do with Ian Happ? Like, I think to trade him, but like that feels like less of a priority again than some of the things that you just mentioned, Jared, as far as like shortstops and, a center fielder, starting pitching, all that kind of stuff. It just feels more important to me to get done this offseason than I think the Cubs can roll the 2023 with Ian Happ, even if it's only on the 1-year contract, and figure things out from there. That feels like less of a priority to me than figuring out what the hell they're going to do, like at shortstop, in center, starting pitching, catcher, that kind of stuff.
I'll say this, like related back to the Abreu stuff, is like, if they don't get a Bellinger or Bell or Mancini, but fill other holes, then I'm assuming that you're running with a platoon of Mervis and Patrick Wisdom at first base. And I would expect Mervis to start the year with the Cubs. Like I've accepted that I could, maybe end of April, beginning of May, something like that. But like he has nothing left to prove in the minor leagues, in my opinion. But again, you're putting a lot of pressure on a rookie, to come out there and perform every day. I mean, remember, Anthony Rizzo wasn't great right away. It took him a few years, and the Cubs were tanking during that time. And the situation with the organization was a lot different back then. It's different now, and like people have higher expectations, and people want to see guys perform right away. There's no patience. So to me, to help a guy like Mervis out, they gotta get someone there. And it's not that I don't even believe in like Patrick Wisdom to be able to platoon at first base with him. It's more of like, well, we know what Patrick Wisdom is, and I think he's a very solid role player. But do I want to see him, platooning with Mervis? Not necessarily. It'd be like my third or fourth option. I'd rather see him platooning with Bellinger or Mancini or Bell. At least those guys are a little bit better offensively. Clearly Wisdom has some offense, but he obviously has a strikeout problems too. So, it's like that. That entire thing with the outfield is just like the same situation at first base for me. It's just like they have to put someone there. They have to.
Jared, I know you're up against it time wise. Anything before we let you sneak away? Anything that surprised you about your conversation with Happ?
Yeah, I think before going down to Connect's facilities down in Bourbonnais, like I don't think I fully realized how deeply involved he is. I mean, this is, he's almost like a staff member there, because he was just like the whole day, he was just there hanging out. It wasn't like he popped in, did his thing, and then left. Like he's there with these people, and it's a small facility. It's like almost like a little family business. And they told me a story about one day last summer because it's like this little industrial space, and there's one of those sliding doors, and it was warm out, so they had it open, and they said they're roasting, and this little old lady drives her car around to the back door and rolls down her window, and she goes, "Is Ian working today?" Because she just thought he was going to be in there roasting beans, but honestly, like the level of involvement, that's maybe not such a crazy question to ask. And what first drew me to it was back during the season, I think in May or so, when Foxtrot first got the cold brew in Wrigleyville. I went and I tried it, and I went in the locker room, and I was like, "Hey, Ian, I tried the cold brew. I really liked it." And he starts talking about like all the business details of, the amount of volume that they wanted to make sure they moved at Foxtrot and all this. And he was asking me like, "Well, did you see the bags on the shelves? Did you see this?" And like quality control type questions. And I was like, wow, he is into this. So yeah, it's something he takes really seriously, and genuinely seems to enjoy, and does seem to care about the people who are running the company. Because then when, my time there was done and I left, they were all getting into a car together, Ian and all of these and the Connect people, to drive to go visit a potential cafe site, because that's the next thing they want to do, is open a cafe down in Bourbonnais and then eventually up in Chicago. And he was just getting in the car with them, so this isn't like, again, he's not just some celebrity endorser. The guy's involved. He's into it. So it was pretty cool to see. So, yeah.
So when we open the CHGO bar, we have a little Connect Roasters on the side for people to sober up. You get a little lift, or the people that don't want to have the alcoholic beverage, they can have a little cold brew on the side.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
We can make this work multiple ways. That's the way I'm thinking on.
For sure.
Jared, thanks for jumping on. We'll talk some free agency stuff the near future, okay?
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Come in the office. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, where you been?
I'll be there Thursday.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice. All right.
Sounds good.
Oh yeah,
Thanks,
for our
Friendsgiving.
Friendsgiving, and I'm it's looking good for the tailgate Sunday too.
Nice.
So I'll come dance with you.
You can read.
If we have a GIF of me and Jared dancing, then there's no doubt that it's because the Cubs signed for you.
For sure.
You can read that about Connect Roasters and Ian Happ, a conversation with Jared, allchgo.com. And of course, Ryan's got some great stuff in there too. Jared, thanks. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, committed to helping families and businesses and communities we serve save money and energy. ComEd offers free facility assessments that can help find energy-saving opportunities, whether it's lighting, HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes. An authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs. These can be done in person or virtually and last approximately 2 hours. Then within 3 to 4 weeks, customers receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they can start working on immediately. Even each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project costs, potential incentives, and simple payback. So don't wait. Get started saving money and energy today. For energy saving tips, to schedule your free facility assessment, go to comed.com/poweringbiz. If you're ready to sign up for the facility assessment, call them at 1-855-433-2700 during normal business hours to speak with a ComEd Energy Efficiency Program representative. You can also email businessee@comed.com or request an assessment online at their website. That is comed.com/facility assessment.
Guys, I had a great weekend. You know why?
Betting?
Yeah, DraftKings.
I was on DraftKings a lot this weekend. I almost won a parlay and the Bears ruined it, so I'm done betting the Bears the rest of the year.
Yeah.
I didn't even bet on the Bears. I just bet on the total, and it went over, and I can't believe it went over considering the conditions and the quarterbacks that played yesterday. Anyway, whatever. That's football. We got basketball. We got the NBA. I don't. Bulls play again. Don't the Bulls play tonight or tomorrow? They play sometime soon.
I think they play tonight, don't they? Let me look.
I think they play tonight. Anyway,
Bulls tonight against the Jazz and Lowry Markkinen.
Oh, Lowry Markkinen revenge game. Log on to DraftKings and slam Lowry Markkinen points, rebounds, assists, and
finisher.
Because the revenge game is definitely coming. The NBA season is heating up, and there are still so many unknown. When I'm looking to get in on the action, I bet with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NBA team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Check this out right now. Everyone can earn up to 100% boosts with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, place a same-game parlay, and combine multiple bets like which team will win, total rebounds, and more. The more legs you add, the bigger the boost, the bigger your shot to win. I had a stepped up same game parlay for the Bears game yesterday. I took the under on everything. almost everything. I mean, I even threw a fumble to happen, and for a couple interceptions, I was surprised that it didn't hit. I was very upset, guys. Anyway, download the app now. Sign up with the code CHGO. Place a $5 pregame moneyline bet on any NBA team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. That's code CHGO. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details in the YouTube description or podcast description. That said, I am riding the Pittsburgh Steelers tonight. Money line, Mike Tomlin as an underdog. I'm riding every time.
I'm gonna bet against you because I need Indianapolis's defense to get me like 7 points in fantasy. And in 2 different leagues. I need 7 points in 2 different leagues with Indy's defense to win. So I'm gonna ride against you.
I see that. I could clearly see this game being low scoring.
If it's like a 3-0 game, then we'll take
I
that.
I can see that game being really low scoring. But Mike Tomlin is 39-17-1 against the spread. That's 70% hit rate as an underdog from week 5 forward in his career. And I think Kenny Pickett's been playing better of late for the Steelers. Steelers in general have been playing better of late. TJ Watt is back, playing a Colts team that they're about as mid is. Like, I don't know.
I just checked my fantasy score. I'm down 127-98. I need a huge game from Najee Harris. I got screwed by Miles Sanders.
Can't have that. Sorry, Luke. I faced Najee. Can't do it.
I see.
And Jalen Hurts at 31. I was winning, and those two guys put up almost 60 points against me. Brutal.
Shout out to David. He says that I have the best looking hat cap of the day.
Yeah, I don't know how that. I don't know the
that's a toque.
Like how that category was graded, but I disagree.
Vibes.
Sean wants to know if I personally knew the dog from Comcast Sportsnet's fans' best friends as. You know what those were? It was a bulldog. I assume he's like early on. It was the Deep Dish was the dog's name.
Mm-hmm.
I did some ads with Deep Dish, but I don't know who actually owned Deep Dish. I do know that Deep Dish has gone on to greener pastures in the sky and is no longer with us.
Pour one out.
Shout out to Deep Dish.
Yeah, pour one out.
Anyways, no, I didn't personally know the dog. You know what? These are nice hats. I think we all have nice hats today. Was that Carhartt you got there, Cody?
Yeah. This is actually my girlfriend's beanie, and I've just been wearing it of late because
I'm just taking it over.
Yeah, I've just taken it over.
What if she were to go out and get one of those big hats that kind of hit the internet yesterday? It was a player from Washington, right?
Brian Robinson.
Yeah, okay. The giant hat that comes out to about here. My question is it the hottest? Is it the new thing? Is it going to be the next hot thing, or is it the dumbest thing you've ever seen? I'm leaning towards the dumbest thing you've ever seen.
I think it looks hilarious.
That's why it's dumb, Ryan.
No, this
is going to be one of the. This is how I know I'm getting old, because my take on this is it's very old man yells at cloud. It's very old man yells at cloud. I saw the picture and I'm like, what is this? What are we as a society? This guy wearing a hat, almost covering his entire face. No.
It's just so outrageously big that I kind of want one. Like just
Sports Genius 38 says they're $75.
I kind of want it.
It's gonna be a no for me, dog.
No, it doesn't. Here's why it doesn't work. Okay. Number one, you can't wear it to a sporting event because you're just going to block the people behind you. So they're going to make you take the hat down. Yeah. Number two, if it's windy, it's just going to that thing will catch wind so fast. It'll be like a hot air balloon flying off your head. The only way it works is in a rain with no wind, and it sort of protects. It's like almost like one of those umbrella hats where you can put the hat on and it's got the umbrella coming off. But otherwise, it doesn't look good. It's not practical. And it's $75.
Well, I disagree with the first thing you said, Kevin. You got the tweet from Mike Dubs.
Do we have the picture of Mike Dubs?
Can you pull that up for us?
Dubs looked pretty good in the Cubs version of it. Is that a Photoshop that Dubs had, Mike Dubs, or was he actually wearing a Cubs version of it?
I don't know. I wonder if he actually had the Cubs version.
Maybe Kevin doesn't have it. I don't know. But I did see it on the internet.
No,
Kevin may have fallen asleep.
Yeah.
I don't know if he actually had it or if it was a Photoshop, but it looked good on Mike.
It looked pretty real.
It did look real. It did look real. Like, what if we started selling a CHGO version of that in our merch locker? Would you wear it then, Cody?
No.
What you could break out your new Jordan 1s, the originals, the original Jordans. You walk in with that hat on.
No.
That's the vibe that Ian Happ's looking for if he's going to join this team.
All right. If it's going to get us Ian Happ, then sure. But
I don't think so.
I'm not. Even if we got a CHGO one, I would advertise all of our merch except for that hat. I would not. You would not catch me advertising it. No.
It does keep the sun off your head. If you go to spring training, you're looking for a little shade. The problem is
sun
it keeps the sun off your eyes, but it also looks like it might be a little hot, huh?
Yeah.
A little sweaty.
And the shady rays, you have those on, and you put the shady rays on. You're never the sun's never gonna touch your eyes again.
Yeah. If people don't know what we're talking about, it again, you could find it anywhere online. Just say big hat, and
it's so dumb.
It reminds me of like the hat that used to be the bullpen car that would come in and the pitchers would ride in from the outfield in what looked like a cap, but it was actually like a golf cart. It's so enormous. It's stupid. Like if I put it on my head and the wind blew, like you'd probably just tilt and fall over.
I mean, my favorite part of the whole thing.
I don't see it being the next big thing.
My favorite part of the whole thing is just how nonchalant Brian Robinson was. Like, if you guys want a big hat, let me know.
Yeah, you can't wear it in a car. You can't see out the back window. If somebody in the back window, you can't even sit in a car with that thing on. It is also like, that's right, Michael Collado saying the 50-gallon hat. It's like those stupid foam sombreros people wear at like carnivals and stuff. Like where it's a giant sombrero, but it's like a cheese head, but just like the foam that's not sealed. You know what I'm talking about? The big red foam cowboy hats you see every once in a while at like a carnival.
You did mention the cheese heads that like Packers fans wear. I think those look stupid.
Those do look stupid. I have a corn head from Nebraska when I lived there.
And rather wear a big hat than a cheese head. That much.
I know we're about to end the show, but I want to read this tweet from Michael Cerami related to Jose Abreu.
Yeah,
our friend of the program, Michael Cerami from Bleacher Nation. He tweeted, Jose Abreu wasn't some dream target. In 3 years at $20 million per for a 36-year-old first baseman is a pretty impossible thing to beat. I'm not blaming the Cubs for not beating that. However, the Cubs only have themselves to blame for not being in position where they could do little extra to get the guy they wanted and who clearly fits. That's part of the frustration. They got themselves here. It didn't happen to them. And I think honestly, that sums up all the frustration of Cubs fans in the chat today or anyone on Twitter is just, I don't want to, but it just goes back to trading Anthony Rizzo. You know what I mean? Like you had a guy who'd been here forever. And now the Cubs are in this position. Like they really did do this to themselves. Now, if Matt Mervis turns out to be great next year and is in the Rookie of the Year chase, then I will put my hand up and say, thank you, Jed. You were right, blah, blah, blah. But like, and we still have a lot of offseason to go. But I'm just saying that, like, I think a lot of frustration from Cubs fans in general is just they did a lot of this to themselves. And
I'm gonna cut you off. I don't the Anthony Rizzo thing. I think you just need to get over that. I think.
If a contract is good, we won't care.
Because you can't act like the Cubs didn't try to keep him around. Like they did offer him the contract.
I just use it as an example.
What I'm saying is that they offered him a contract that he probably didn't think was it wasn't what he felt he was worth. That he didn't get a better contract on the market, and then needed a good last year and a half with New York to get a better one. If those didn't happen, then the Cubs look like geniuses not giving him more than what they offered. So I don't agree that we just need to stop referencing Anthony Rizzo. Like
all I'm saying is that you had a first baseman who had proven over a long-term time that he was good at his job.
But the Cubs didn't. The Cubs didn't not try to keep him. The Cubs tried to keep him. He did. He wanted more than what they were offered.
I'm just saying, like,
so
they could have paid up a little bit more. They could have just paid up a little bit more, and then we could sit here and yell about how it was a bad idea instead, I guess.
I just don't.
There is hindsight to both sides.
I want Alcantara. That's all I want is Alcantara and Correa. I want Correa.
I just think that there's
talking about.
You don't even have to use first base. You don't even have to use first base. You can just you can look all across the holes on this roster, and you can say the Cubs did this to themselves by just simply not finding a way to keep any really good player that they had before the quote unquote rebuild. That's not a rebuild. So, and again, I'm not saying that I agree or disagree with it. I'm saying that that's the frustration with the fan base, in my opinion. And so, in that standpoint, I get it. I get why people are frustrated and have already stopped believing that they're even going to sign Correa or someone like that. I totally get it. I hope that they prove us all wrong. That's what I'm really getting at. That's what I'm really trying to get at.
If they sign Correa when Ryan goes to San Diego for the first time this weekend in the winter meetings, then we're all getting big hats, and we're all going to have our giant big hat Cubs hats on in studio the next time we're together, and there won't be room for the three of us because we'll be sitting around in giant hats. And what's funnier than that? Absolutely nothing. There it is.
Yeah, and that's also just a great SNL skit. Like, big hats.
When they used to play Jeopardy, yeah.
I'm all in on big hats now. All in.
I was in on the big head stickers, but I don't know about this giant hat thing. I don't think it's
the only way that I will do it is if it just really becomes that big of a trend, in which then I feel like, all right, if everyone loves it, then fine. Maybe I'll.
I'll be a follower. I'll be a follower on this one. I prefer the giant foam finger to a giant.
I like to be a leader, but this is something I'm not going to be a leader for. I refuse to be a leader for this. I'm just a leader of collecting as many Jordan 1s as possible. Right?
Big hats are going to be the next Jordans. Mark my words.
That's right. Yeah, probably. That's very likely. That's very likely. Good point, Ryan. Again, if there's something finally breaks and the Cubs finally do something, even on Cyber Monday, we will bring it to you in a breaking news podcast right here at chgo.com. And let's see. Oh, don't forget our Cyber Monday deal is still going the rest of the day, up to 50% off our merch. Another 20% off on top of that for the diehards out there. So make sure you get the deals. Also, you can get the allchgo.com diehard level for a year. Give that to someone for the holiday season. Good time to do that as well. That's the gift that keeps giving you a whole year round.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. That's a great Christmas idea, honestly.
It is a good Christmas idea. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook. We'll see you back here Tuesday in studio, hopefully with big breaking Cubs news. Until then, fly the W.